probably
All right, good morning. Stop talking. It's Kelby here, joined with Tim and Drew. We're here for Learn from Tim episode. How you guys doing today?
Wonderful.
great.
Cool.
Yeah, that's about it.
You like my shirt?
Yeah, Matthews.
Yeah, Travis.
No comment. All right, so the question for today is, what are some things that a business owner, leader of an organization can do to stay sharp mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, with relationships or anything like that?
Quit.
All right, that
take
is all
this
for
one.
today. You guys have a good...
No, it.
So, I mean, I guess we can start on mentally. What are some things that you have learned over the past, your whole life, basically?
Yeah, mentally is hard. And I'm still trying to figure it out because no matter what happens, it always jumps in front of you. And you try to tame it down. And I think it's really a lot about mindset. And I think that we talked about this before, is about creating habits, and creating habits towards things you have problems against. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking that what are the habits I have to create to stop the negative mindset or the mountains that come in front of you? Of course, I believe and have faith in God. And then the very first thing I do before I put my feet on the ground, and when I get out of bed, and you hear a lot of it, is you be grateful for what you are able to do and wake up to. And then once that is, you have a routine and habit, and it's typically for me is that I pray. And then once I'm done praying, I thank God that I'm able to walk and stand up and go work out. And then the working out part of it is, it's an hour power. I call it my own hour power. I work out for an hour. What's there where it's really difficult, because when you're in there in the gym by yourself, and it's typically like how I like it, is that you start thinking about everything that you're going to do that day. And that's the hardest part mentally as a business owner. You automatically start thinking. Mm-hmm. Then you lose your thought on working out. And it stopped me so many times. It had done that to me this morning. I was sitting down doing seated rows, and I did 2 sets of 12, and I started thinking. And so I caught myself sitting on the bench and putting the jump box up against me, and I had my iPad and started typing all these notes that I had to do and what had to be taken care of today because of something happened 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. That's right there is the hardest part mentally, to think, how do you get rid of that? How do you stop? So I think it's the most important thing is always think about what you couldn't have. Mm-hmm. A good heartbeat, legs, limbs, all the things that some people out there have to deal with every day. And to be blessed, what you have now is what you got to think about. And that's what one mentally.
So important thing that I've heard from you is just the self-awareness. You became self-aware that you know that you probably shouldn't be doing that. Just to focus on your workout. That's becoming self-aware and just knowing probably need to shut that down. And just, we talked about it just for this previous podcast, is there's something I learned previously is we think. That's where we emotions come off those feelings. There's a gap in between thoughts and feelings. And then there's a gap between feelings and emotion, or actions, behaviors. So we have 2 gaps to become self-aware of. When we become self-aware of it, we have a gap that we could dump this bad thought that we're having in between thoughts and feelings, and we don't even have to feel the feelings for that. And then we have another shot between feelings and actions. So if we're feeling a way, we react off of those feelings and start taking actions towards that. We have a gap right there that we can stop it there too and become self-aware and stop before we make an action we'll regret later. So you having that self-awareness to know that I'm having all these thoughts right now, I got to go write it down, which is a good thing too, is just dumping it. I'm all about dumping the day, journaling and all that, getting those thoughts out, because you putting it out there and visualizing. I was telling Drew this morning, is you visualize this stuff coming out of your body, because the more you bury it down, the more you're going to think about it and bury yourself and not focus. You lose focus when you're thinking, basically, on a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I don't know if you guys want to add anything about that.
I was just the more proactive you are, the less reactive you are.
That's a great point.
And you're exactly right. So what you need to do is set an appointment in your mind. When you set an appointment in your mind, it's like going to the doctor. You know the doctor appointment's at 10. There's nothing else you can do about it. You can't push it. You can't put it forward. You got to go to it at 10. So if you have your hour power or your workout time or whatever you have for that hour, that's an appointment. And that's what's helped me is just make an appointment. You go into it, you finish it, and you move on. That's nothing different than if you have to go to the store or anything else you have. You got to finish it. That's your requirement you have to do. And sometimes it's hard to do that, but if you keep that, it's easier to be able to just make that appointment, do it, and be ready to write down all your stuff that you got to do during that day.
But you know what's interesting? You say make an appointment, but when people make an appointment for the doctor, they worry about it up until that point. So it's almost like you have to make more appointments to keep yourself busy and keep yourself structured so you don't sit there and just, I made my appointment, I'm going to go do this. But it's stacking wins over time. You read your book. That's why we really like the program 75 Hard, because you stack those wins through the day. You read your 10 pages, you drink your water, you take your picture, you do this workout, you do that workout. It's just stacking those wins. We can't just do one thing, because if we have an open space, a void, we're going to think about that and worry about that and wonder, is this the right thing to do? Or I got to do this instead, or I got to do that. It's just setting those habits, setting that structure, and attacking it.
And that's why a lot of people break habits. You know, from people that do 75 Hard or do anything else, they be broken. They're broken. Mm-hmm. It's a repetitious thing, and what you learn to do is, as long as you're repetitious about trying to do the same thing, sooner or later you're going to get it, mm-hmm. and that's a matter of time. Some people are more, I don't want to say motivated, but more disciplined on doing their chores or appointments or whatever, but you have to beat that subconscious way of how your body reacts to things.
Yeah, and it's just changing your thoughts simply about it. I mean, becoming self-aware. If you don't like a result, do the opposite. Start thinking the opposite, because when you start thinking the opposite, you're going to start feeling the opposite of what you feel now. And then when you start feeling the opposite, you're going to start acting the opposite of what you're doing now. And then you're going to have that result. It's seriously simple, and people overcomplicate, like we were talking, and overthink these things. And it literally comes down to why we said it this morning. Why do we have to have a program to get us started? Just start taking action. If you want something, start taking action towards it. We go to this comfort because we think it's comfort, mm-hmm. because we're deceived and by the devil or whatever it is, or whatever people believe, but we know what it is. And they just think it's the comfort. The world is comfort. And it's frustrating. So it's simple as just, I want this. This is what I have to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, be careful with adding habits to your lifestyle, because if you get into too strict of a routine, there's scenarios where you will get too comfortable and things will come up in your life and you won't be able to be flexible and pivot through that as well. And that can deteriorate a lot of your progress. Routines are good, but if you stick to it daily and you're very stern on it, you will not be able to, do changes in your life. You're just going to stick. You think you'd be you're going to be doing better as having habits and stuff, but you might trail off into the same spot you've been in this whole entire time, because you're back to square one where you're basically doing the same thing every day. That's not getting you anywhere.
Plans are great. Like, we should all have a plan, but you should also know that it's never going to go as planned.
No, it's not.
So you have to be able to pivot.
Yeah.
You got to be able to adapt, and going into it knowing I have this plan to get to this end result. It's not going to go perfect. So you have to know right now that there's going to be hurdles. There's going to be things that get in your way, and you just have to learn to pivot and just, okay, there should be zero options though. No plan B. Because guess what happens when you set a plan B? You're that quick to quit.
Yeah, I would say I've been trying to make my plan B's my plan A. But you have to be able to pivot. You can't have something, oh, well, that's not working, I got to go. No, I have to step back and see why it's not working and make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so it's a lot harder to turn a big ship.
Yeah.
And so you see an iceberg in front of you or anything. Everyone has to accept challenges. If you can't accept a challenge, then you're not going to get wherever, no matter if you have habits, routines. The only thing you need to do is accept the challenge. If the challenge jumps in front of you, take care of it. If you run away or veer off to the left or veer off to the right, it's not going to work. So it's just like the big ship going towards that iceberg. It takes a little challenge to veer it, because it's going to take a lot longer to be getting towards that, because you don't turn a ship like you do a car.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
So you got to accept that challenge.
I like that, because if you're in a big ship, your goal's over here, but there will be things in your way. But if you're in a car maneuvering, oh, that looks good, I'll go that way. Oh, okay, that didn't work, I'll go that way, this way, this way. And you're never going to get to an end goal or an end result, because you're bouncing back and forth. But if you're on that ship and you don't turn as often, and you're staying stern to your habits, and you're pivoting when you need to pivot, you will see that end result, without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's all about a lot of people go because it's easier.
Yeah.
Just like me sitting down, it was easier for me to sit on that bench and start typing the thing. It's the easy way out.
Yeah. So you mentioned going to the gym as part of, we were on mental.
Yes. Yep.
So why do you think going to the gym and exercise helps you mentally?
Endorphins. You're pushing your body of getting rid of whatever's stagnant. Stagnant can be thoughts. Stagnant can be anything in part of your body. But if you're moving, you're more adaptable to the challenges, because you feel good.
Yeah.
It's like drinking a cup of coffee. You feel good for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Endorphins in your own body, you feel good for a lot of the day.
I think that's something a lot of people overlook. They just think, oh, exercise, working out, walking, running. I'm not there to get jacked. I'm not there to get fit like this person, or I see this person on a magazine. That's not what I want. That's what they correlate with exercise. But people fail to know, like, if you're sitting on the couch stressed and depressed, or if you're on the verge of wanting to commit suicide, go take a walk. It's as simple as that. Get your blood flowing. Stop sitting in your emotions and feelings and just get up. I mean, I understand for some it's hard. Talking to some of the conversations I've had, and I used to be one of those guys that said, well, if you want to kill yourself, or if you kill yourself, you're a coward. But after hearing some of the people that I've talked to, it's like, no one can hear your screams. But what I would say is just self-awareness as much as possible. Just get up and exercise. Exercise is not the point. It's just a walk. It's going to make you healthy, get the blood flowing, but it's for the mind too. It's more for the mind than anything. Yes, there's a byproduct of getting in shape and looking better, but our mind is the most powerful thing in our body.
I mean, yeah, you hit it perfectly. Going the coward route, calling people that, like, straight cowards for all that stuff, you may have not experienced anything like that in your life. You may have not experienced a depressive state, but once you do, you will understand a lot of those people have no idea how to get out of that area. They do not know how to pivot. And like you said, go take a walk, do something. But if you're in that depressive state, and even if you're not, you can't judge others because of what they're going through, because you maybe have not gone through that.
Well, no matter if you're a business owner or not, it's, a lot of people out there are very happy with what they do, and they can get up, go to work, and they're happy. If they're happy, that's an achievement. But in the business world, you ask the questions on what gets me through. It's the things that I do, and I don't want to look like anybody else. I used to want to look a lot like a lot of people. I used to want to be a lot like a lot of people. But once you come to realize that it's you that have been created by God, accept that. And once you accept who you are, it's accepting, and that's a challenge. So it's a challenge on you not wanting to be like somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it right there. That one thing that's just stuck out to me. A lot of business owners go in, they love what they do. Yeah. I think when they stray away from that, they're focused on others. They're focused on what others are doing within their company. I don't like what they're doing. That's not what I wanted to do. That's against my standards. So that's when you see business owners start getting like just stressed. I think because they get off their path. They start focusing on everything and everybody else around them. So, but when you can come back to that foundation that you've laid, like we talked about with the core values, if you can fall back on that and start acting upon that again, that's huge. It's just that self-awareness. Don't beat yourself up if you get off that path, but just become self-aware, and you can fall back on that.
Comparison is the thief of joy, success, everything.
Yeah, it's funny if there's business owners out there right now listen to this podcast, they're probably sitting there. Look at these three guys sitting at a table talking about something I already know. And they do. They learned it their way. And what's good about that is to learn from other business owners. And so that's another part of it is read from other people, read what they have learned, or get a mentor. There's local people around here. They're so much further than I am. If I can learn just a piece off of that. So reading, praying, working out, and being happy. Them are the four top things. And it's not to worry about if it's a habit or a routine. It's just them most important things for you. That gets you through some of them challenges, but you have to accept them.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Yeah. I had a question. So I know how hard it is. I'm no business owner, but I know how hard it is when you know something to drop down your ego factor of knowing that and asking a question and trying to get more information on it, because it's so hard to like, you don't want to sound dumb or anything like that, but how hard is it for a business owner? And like many of these business owners that might be listening, how hard is it to drop your ego? Because you've learned your way. How hard is it to drop your ego and learn from a different business owner?
I learned from a mentor from mine years ago, and he just recently passed at 97 years old. And he always told me is not to worry ever about what your ego is or what you just don't have one. You're no better than anybody else.
Yeah.
No matter if it's a person in the street or they had problems because you just don't know what happened. And he said, just be you and not even worry about what you're doing. Just do it.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because I used to be wanting to be like others and got jealous. And that's one of the hard things in business is, why is this guy doing so much better than we are? But you don't know what's behind the scheme, the scheme of things of what he's going through, or a business owner there. I've seen so many construction companies around here that have been here forever, and they're phenomenally successful. But they go through problems too.
Yeah.
They learn, they've learned through their fathers and their generations, and good for them, because you want them to succeed. You can't have everything. And when you have that kind of an attitude, you can't have everything, or you can't have it that way, you become more successful.
Yeah.
Is to do it your way. And that's what God has given you. And that's what in the business world of things is, if you could just get that past, not to worry about, wow, they're doing so good, why aren't we? That was hard for me. But once I released that and not worried about it, I think we have been becoming more successful these last couple of years, especially going through COVID, that we have learned things that we did our way.
Yeah.
And maybe we did better than others, but it didn't give me an ego. I want to reach out and help others.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like I was saying in the past episode we just made, you will see 5% of what that company's done. It could be the glamorous, the cars, the money they bring in, but you never see the 95%. That is probably the worst part of creating a business.
Yeah.
I think there's a healthy side to ego, though. Just being proud.
Confidence.
Confidence. I think there is a very healthy way to do that, because if you are willing to learn too and stand tall and stand proud of what you've built, but also willing to learn, I think that there's a healthy way. But if you think you know it all and you've done it and your way's the way, like, yeah, that's obviously unhealthy. But to stand tall for the company you've built and be proud of that and be proud of the employees that you employ, that's really good and healthy, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
It's being humbled.
Yeah.
You can have a humbled ego. And that's just, you're proud of what you've done. You're confident, but you're not showing off.
Right.
Yeah. I think we could almost break this into a second part. We don't want mom to yell at you. We have a barbecue today, I guess.
Well, it's good that we were able to do that.
Yeah. We can do
That was, we'll do a part 2 on this just to break it down, because they all kind of mesh together at the end of the day: mental, physical, emotional, relationships. But we can get into more of the relationships and emotions in the next part. But I mean, if we can talk about physical too, it might be a 3-parter. I don't know. But.
Well, I mean, it's also good to talk about some of the issues that we've had in this company, and maybe some people can relate to
apply to
it. And I'm not saying I was perfect to get through it, but I can tell them how I got through it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a pain in the butt to get through it.
That creates empathy. I mean, everybody wants sympathy, but if you can empathize with people, and we can bring a situation here that we've went through, and another business owner's like, oh dang, I'm gonna tune into this one because I want to hear how they got through it, and it might help them.
Well, that's what I want to do. We're talking about this, and what's really cool is it's bringing us in now to the stories. We're talking about what got me there and how it's getting me there, but let's bring up these situations, because I feel that we can talk to businesses, and even they might have an idea to even help me. But then again, we can bring up an incident that they've never been, because in business, they're going to come up.
Oh, yeah.
My first 3-4 years in Armcorp, nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Well, now you're paying for attorneys, and what the heck is that?
We have.
It's
We have had a big last 2 months that I would love to dive into that when it's closed, and kind of talk through what we dealt with that, and just tell the truth and be honest. I mean, because everybody's gonna have to deal with something like that one day, most likely. But it's been a learning experience for everybody, and I would love to dive into that and be honest with people and just tell them what's expected. And we can start doing that with a lot more situations for sure, and get more people on here and talk about the situation. And
if you don't think you're going to get sued as a business owner, you might want to take a step back and
it's a good lesson.
Yeah.
That's a good learn.
You should always be learning in life.
Just another thing to pivot.
That's what I said in our Monday moment. Just, you should always be learning.
Yeah.
That statement, you just say, I don't ever lose. That's nothing wrong with that. That right there is a great statement, as not a bad, you can take that one way or another. I never lose. People are going to be like, that's cocky, that's egotistical, or whatever. But no, I don't lose, because I learn. If I fail, I learn. You're winning, because you're learning how not to do it next time. I don't take that as a loss, because when people think they lost, they get down, they get emotional about it. They get mentally messed up from it. It's just how you react to it. I'm going to learn from this. I did it this way. I'm not going to do it that way next time.
Yeah.
So if you win, great, move on to the next task. But if you lose, let's go change it to where we can turn that into a win.
And that's what happens, is that people say, when I hear you, when you say I don't lose, people think different. Then, well, he's arrogant. Well, no, if you explain to them why you don't lose, then they start to understand.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about. It's not about the arrogance. It's not about the things that we don't lose. It's explain what you're talking about. And that's where your communication goes very well in a very long way.
Yeah.
Well, people sit on losses for a while. I mean, they'll let it affect them. And
you can't do that.
That's where the mental stuff comes in, and just start taking action. So we appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah.
Like always, you can follow us on all the social media platforms. You can email Drew or Kelby at armcorinc.com to ask any questions if you want us to answer them on the podcast. And again, you guys have a great day.
Yeah.
Hey, you too.
Great
See you.
weekend. All right. Yep.